Cruiser needed a friend, and he needed a friend that he could connect with, and the only option was another dingo.
Since that day I live in a dream.
For a wild boar dingo, adapting to a domestic life is very, very challenging. Initially, when Cruiser first arrived at the farm, he was scared of everything. Everything was a new experience, a new sound, new people, new dogs, and he was terrified. It took quite some time for him to start to come out of his shell and learn to trust that these are all normal daily activities, that these dogs are friendly, that Sam and I were there to protect him and help him. It's a long road to letting himself relax. It's not something that comes easily to a dingo. Instinctively, they want to be wary and very nervous of situations that are unfamiliar or have any inkling or any chance of turning hostile or unsafe for the dingoes. It is what has allowed them to survive in the wild for so many years. Now, Cruiser shows none of those behaviours. He loves the farm. You can just see that he has completely relaxed, adopted the farm as his home, and it's a really beautiful thing to see. Cruiser had a couple of play dates with another dingo that came to the farm, and you could see straight away they got on really well. There was no miscommunication. They understood each other very well. They played the same way. The language was the same. We thought that the next best thing to Cruiser living a life in the wild was to adopt another dingo for Cruiser to have as his mate permanently. We're not talking about mating as in having pups, we're talking about a best mate. And when dingoes find a mate, they mate for life. Tina is a 8-month-old wild-born dingo, and unfortunately Tina's mum was poisoned by 1080 bait, which is a very common way to cull dingoes here in Australia. It's in my opinion, disgusting practice. It's very cruel. There is a lot of activism out there at the moment to try to get it banned, and also to get dingoes on the protected status instead of allowing them to be culled at alarming rates all over the country. For those of you that don't live in Australia, that are overseas, it is a significant problem here for dingoes. Once they are taken from the wild, it is illegal to release them back into the wild. There are only a couple of states in Australia that allow you to keep a dingo as a pet. So as a result, all the dingo rescues are extremely full. It is a really dire situation for dingoes that get caught up in the domestic world. As far as Cruiser's concerned, he was a pup taken from the wild. I can't stress enough how much I'm a believer in just leaving wildlife be wild and live a wild life. Unfortunately, that has been taken away from Cruiser. And Tina, with her mother being baited when Tina was such a young age, there was zero chance of survival for Tina. So when Tina came to the farm for a meet and greet, to meet Cruiser, to meet us for the Dingo Rescue people in charge of Tina's adoption, to assess the property, look at the fences, make sure this was a suitable environment for a dingo, she was just as nervous and weary of this new environment as Cruiser was. Only the difference being that the Dingo Rescue facility had done a very good job at desensitizing Tina and getting Tina used to human contact, being patted, being walked, and the meet and greet went very, very well. Tina has been here on the farm now for 3 weeks, and given that she's a wild-born dingo, it's no surprise that she is very wary and timid with any new experience. It's taken a little bit of time to get Tina used to the fact that we've got all these dogs here. We come in and out and we move the dogs around, including her and Cruiser. But now, with only such a short time, being 3 weeks, she has adopted very, very well to the new environment. Surprisingly so. She's adapting so much faster than Cruiser did. But then again, you've got to take into account that Cruiser was much older at the time. Tina is still only a young pup, which means she's more open to new experiences and taking them on so long as she feels safe. And she's already started to confide and feel comfort in Cruiser, being that they're starting to realize and understand that we're doing this together. It's been a pretty good matchup so far. Now, Tina is a young pup. She's only 8 months old. Cruiser is a fully grown male dingo. So there's a significant size difference at the moment. And dingoes respect strength. So at this point in time, Cruiser is definitely the leader in that dynamic. But Tina's showing a lot of signs that she will become a very confident dingo, and she will likely end up being the one to take charge of that dynamic. That's pretty natural in the wild for the females to be the dominant pack member, and I don't think it's going to be any different here. Tina's got a lot of personality, and I can see she's got a lot of confidence within herself. She's only a young pup, but she already shows signs of being a very competent leader, and I don't think it's going to be long before Cruiser realizes he's number 2 in that dynamic. But that will likely be the natural progression for those two. Tina looks a little bit different to Cruiser. That's because here in Australia we have a few different types of dingo, and it's all based on what climate their natural habitat is. Cruiser is an alpine dingo, and Tina is a desert dingo. So me, having grown up in Queensland and seeing dingoes regularly when going out camping, Tina is what I remember as a kid, is exactly what dingoes look like. And Cruiser is from the colder climate. It might be up in a mountain range, it might be further south in the state, and he's got a thicker coat, and he is going to be a little bit heavier set as far as needing that extra body mass during those colder months and when food starts to get a bit more scarce. The desert dingoes are really lean. The food is few and far between, but they need to be able to cover huge distances of land to go between hunting ranges and home ranges, and the food size, the natural prey food size out in the desert is very, very small. It's very fast. They need to be fast, and they need to be able to cover lots and lots of distance. That's why they've got that really scrawny, long leg, skinny build, because that is the most effective body type for that environment. So how did Cruiser go on the meet and greet? We were expecting Cruiser to start to retreat a little bit and go back in his shell because there were 2 new people, there were new dingoes on site, but Cruiser just was so happy to see them. He didn't show any signs of being nervous. He was very relaxed, very composed, very interested and engaging, and we were very surprised because we know where Cruiser was 12 months ago. And it was a great sign to see, because it meant that all the hard work that we'd been doing with Cruiser is paying off, and Cruiser is becoming a much more well-rounded dingo as far as being confident in himself and comfortable in the environment. So Sam and I were very impressed to see that reaction from Cruiser during the meet and greet with Tina. When looking at 2 domestic dogs and introducing them to play at the park or visit each other's houses, there are a lot of antisocial behaviours that are frowned upon and that you want to overcome. All of those antisocial behaviours that you can think of are pretty much par for the course when you're talking about 2 dingoes interacting. We're not talking about domestic dogs here. We are talking about wild animals, and again, there is a very, very strong survival instinct and very little carefree attitude and relaxed mode. It is always survival at the back of their mind. At this early stage of Tina being here at the farm, the main objective is to just help Tina settle in as quickly as possible and then start to build trust and build that relationship with both Cruiser but also Sam and myself. Each day that I go in there and hang out with them, it's a lot easier for Tina to learn to trust us when you've got Cruiser all over us, loving on us, kisses, cuddles, pats, and Tina looks at that and goes, oh, okay, well, if you're comfortable with them and you trust them enough to do that, I'm going to come and investigate. But it doesn't mean she's letting her guard down at all. There is still a long way to go to build that trust and relationship with Tina, because she needs to be won over as an individual. She's not just going to blindly trust Cruiser there. It helps having Cruiser, who's already very social, but it's not a sure thing. Since Tina has arrived at the farm, we have noticed a significant level of calmness in Cruiser. Because Cruiser got on with 75% of our pack members and not so much with the other 25%, it meant that he wasn't able to be social with our group 100% of the time. So during those times where Cruiser was separated, it's almost like he is a lot more settled and comfortable in the fact that I've got a mate, I've got someone to hang out with. And that was our objective. I really expect to see this relationship develop a lot more and they become very dependent on each other. But it's so good to see this early on that not only Tina is doing really well settling in, but Cruiser is, benefiting from having a mate in there with him. We often see them running around the dam, playing with each other, playing with some of their toys. It's great to see he's starting to develop his own life and relationship, even though we still socialise them with the pack that are able to socialise with those guys.
Hello, sweetheart. Oh.
that day I live in a dream.